Hello, friends, family, and people who want to fight me. We're going to be doing Bible study. And just maybe, Yoav will be there. Will that not be glorious? There's only one way to find out, and that is by attending. I'm going to post in the chat. Link is in the chat. Hopefully, this time we're not having problems. But I will see you in 5 minutes. You got 5 minutes to grab your Bibles and join us in 1 Kings chapter 4. Hope to see you soon. Hello, my friends. Oh. I can hear myself on somebody's computer. Let's find out who. Is it Cassandra? No? Okay. All right. Sounds good now. Yoav, welcome back. Finally. Have you been listening to our episodes while you were not here?
Yes, maybe not every minute, but I try to catch up as much as I could.
Wonderful. Where are you at now?
Now I'm in some leafy suburb of London, where it is sweltering hot. Most places do not have air conditioning, unlike in Tel Aviv. In Tel Aviv, it can be hot, but you have air condition. And here, yeah, you're hot and you suffer it bravely.
Well, because they don't expect it.
Nobody expects it. You know, summer, when it comes, it's a surprise.
That's true. Let's just working on it. Okay, Cassandra, how are you doing as representative of the women of the planet?
We're doing great.
Good. Are all the women doing well, or just
we're all perfect? Yes.
Good. It's a good week for women.
They're all fine, David. They're all fine.
Just fine. It's fine. Good stuff. And with that in mind, Matt, how are you doing?
Frustrated. It's Juneteenth, and one of my markets decided to take the week off without letting me know. So I had the really surreal experience of showing up to what I thought was going to be a bustling tent city, and it was a ghost town. It's weird.
Oh wow.
So you have my full attention today.
Ethan, there is a character named Ethan in the chapter that we're going through today. How are you?
I'm good. I'm in a Costco parking lot. Is it the Ezrahite?
Hey, there you go.
That's my namesake. Psalm 89, baby.
Is that actually who you're named after?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. And these guys, we got a couple of people who have like one psalm named after them.
To answer a question, no, I'm not at home yet. I expect to be home next month.
Mm-hmm. Do you like English food?
Sorry?
Do you like English food?
It doesn't exist anymore. It's very much an international cuisine in London now.
Okay. Let's jump into the text, unless anyone has anything that they want to update us on.
Oh, there's the echo.
Anytime when you're not talking, Yoav, I'm gonna mute you. Okay. Excellent. I really like the food in England. Maybe I'll get to that some other time. Do you eat kosher, Yoav?
No.
Okay, then have a sausage roll. Those are quite good. Okay, we're going to go into, I think, the passage this time. We are in 1 Kings chapter 4. Hopefully we had tech issues last week where we dropped some people. I'm going to hope that does not occur. Cassandra, could you please read for us first?
King Solomon was king over all Israel, and these were his high officials. Azariah, the son of Zadok, was the priest. Elihoreph and Ahijah and the sons of Shisha were secretaries. Jehoshaphat, the son of Ahilud, was recorder. Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, was in command of the army. Zadok and Abiathar were priests. Azariah, the son of Nathan, was over the officers. Zabad, the son of Nathan, was priest and king's friend. Ahishar was in charge of the palace, and Adoniram and son of Abda was in charge of the forced labor.
Okay, first off, forced labor doesn't sound good to me. That sounds a little Pharaoh-y, if you're asking me. And that's one of the warnings about kings, is that they're going to be conscripted for forced labor. I'm wondering if King's friend Zabud, the son of Natan, was priest and King's friend. I don't know if that's a official position or if that was just he was the king's friend. I don't know which one that is.
Would you need to list the king's friend? Why would that be relevant?
Yeah, I mean, it might be a positive thing that he's friend with a priest. That seems like it could be positive, or could be corrupt. I don't know.
Is there any, I guess, like thought that that's like Nathan, that he's the son of?
It depends, because we don't know if it's Nathan the prophet. We don't know what his lineage is. If it, because I had the theory, one of the theories is that Nathan the prophet is David's son, because we get that in the genealogy, but then he couldn't be a priest because the wrong genealogy. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. That's exactly what I'm wondering, Don. Is it like Lady in Waiting, right? Or if you meet an elder in a church, that doesn't mean that they're a senior citizen, right? Elder doesn't mean old person, even though it technically means old person, right? You meet a Mormon elder and he's like 17. You know, what the heck is going on here, right? You know, it's a position. Yoav, do you want to add anything?
No, not at the moment.
Okay. Then Ethan, could you now read for us?
Solomon had 12 officers over all Israel, who provided food for the king and his household. Each man had to make provision for 1 month in the year. Oh, it's loading. These were their names: Ben-Hur in the hill country of Ephraim, Ben-Deker in Makaz, Shalbim, Beth-Shemesh, and Elon Beth-Hanan. Ben-Hesed in Aruboth. To him belonged Soko and all the land of Hefer. Ben-Abinadab in all Naphath Dor. He had Taphath, and the daughter of Solomon is his wife. Bana, the son of Alahud in Tanakh, Megiddo, and all Beth Shane that is beside Zerathon below Jezreel, and from Beth Shane to Abel Meholah as far as the other side of Jokmeam. Ben Geber in Ramoth Gilead, he had the villages of Jair, the son of Manasseh, which are in Gilead, and he had the region of Argob, which is in Bashan, 60 great cities with walls and bronze bars.
Let's pause for 1 second, because I feel bad for you, Ethan, because you got the section that's all names, of course. I am wondering, before we go any further, I'm wondering, Yoav, if you have any theories about this, because you'll notice there's a lot of guys with Ben and a couple of Beth names, and Ben is son of, right? Or son is the word for son, like just regular Ben, which a lot of people will know because Benjamin is son of my right hand. But there's a famous guy right there, not the Ben-Hur of Charlton Heston fame, but you got a ton of Ben names. And sometimes we've made mention of family lineage, the importance of that. But also, whether or not these are Jewish names or non-Jewish names. Yoav, you've made mention of before. The Ben names are very Jewish. They become bar names once it becomes Aramaic. Yeah, Yoav, do you have any thoughts on any of these? On the use of all these names?
No, it just seems very normal. This is how it goes in Judaism. You name a person, his name and his father's name. This is how there are no family names. You name a person by his name and his father's name. That's the common procedure.
Okay. So did you sometimes catch when we don't catch? This to me, all the Ben names to me means that these are all Jewish boys. Because every now and then, remember, we would meet a list of names and you would say, what are these names? These aren't Jewish names. It seems like we just went through a whole bunch of actually Jewish names. Am I right? Right?
Yeah, I would guess so. I mean, it's enough that you put masters on the regions. If you put foreign masters on the region, you're calling for a mutiny. Sounds natural to me. I mean, comment on. Anyway, where would the foreigner come for? We have a Philistines warrior, but not fit to be region managers.
That's good. That's good. Yes, Yanni, Ben-Hur is Jewish. You gotta rewatch the movie. Maybe I should rewatch the movie. I've heard good things. Yes, Moshe was Jewish, but ironically, Moshe does not have a Jewish name. It's an Egyptian name. Okay, I think we're at 14. Cassandra, please, I want Ethan to come back. I like his opinion. He does a good job, and I just gave him just garbage section to read. Not that any part of the Bible is garbage, but just that it's not fun to read. So please relieve him a little.
No, it is fun for me because of the division of the country into regions. All the place names, most of them are still in use today. So when he read the names, I could picture it on the map. So it is interesting to know how the wisest man ever divided his kingdom, what borders he chose to put.
Thank you. That's good. That's good. Okay. But Cassandra, you still have to be the one to read it because Yoav refuses to read. So please help the man out.
Okay. Ahinadab, the son of Iddo in Mahanaim, Ahimaaz in Naphtali. He had taken Basemath, the daughter of Solomon, as his wife. Baana, the son of Hushai in Asher in Beal. Jehoshaphat, the son of Paruah in Issachar. Shimea, the son of Elah in Benjamin. Geber, the son of Uri in the land of Gilead, the country of Sihon, king of the Amorites, and of Og, king of Bashan. And there was one governor who was over the land.
Perfect. Dawn noticed something that bothered her, which was that he had taken Basemath, the daughter of Solomon, as his wife. So we don't know a ton about her, but Yoav was quick to mention previously that Solomon only has one son. So this is a mention of his daughter. We don't get a lot more information on the daughter, but only one son. Anything else which is noticed, which people want to make mention of?
I was going to ask about the bronze bars from the earlier part, where it said like there's 60 great cities with walls and bronze bars. What is a bronze bar?
I think that's referring to like the gates, that it has real gates.
Okay.
That's how I would interpret it, which would be like a fortified city. Where was that?
It's like verse 13, I think.
Was it 13? Yes.
Wow.
Oh, and that's related to Bashan. Bashan is an interesting one because unless I'm mistaken, Bashan is known as one of the like Og, the king of Bashan, is the one with the bronze bed. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm tracking with you.
The
Uh,
Amorite king
yeah,
of Bashan, who was slain with his army by Moses and his men at the battle of Edrei. Yeah.
yeah. And Og is also like, I mean, he's one of the like stereotypical like mythological evil characters in the wandering narratives, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
And he's often depicted as a giant.
hmm Yeah. And isn't also like Goliath's armor is in bronze. I think bronze is just mostly like strength fortification, is sort of what he's getting at there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a couple kings down the line, you get this big moment where they get attacked and their golden shield that adorned the temple are stolen and they replace them with bronze. And it's I don't know, a proverbial statement or something like that, swapping out glory for strength or diminishing of glory or something like that. But I guess it gets cheaper. Go ahead.
Yeah, those doors. That's the Nicanor gate has a bunch of legends in the Talmud relating to it. That it miraculously floats and a bunch of other things because they're almost lost in a shipwreck. So there's these stories about it kicking around. But the Bashan, Og, the king of Bashan, is known for a bronze bed, which was probably used for ritualistic purposes. In some of these, like I theorize, like it's not just me. I like the ideas that the Nephilim stuff is related to sex magic, and that's part of what the bed is about, and part of Bashan being giant, where they would do these weird rituals in order for the gods to come in the form of the kings. Either way, Bashan is already known for having bronze instruments. But that's all. That's all I got as it relates to this text. And any further, I'd just be roaming. Do you want to add anything else there, Ethan?
Nope, that's interesting. Isn't Og mentioned? Oh yeah, right there again. At the end there.
Yeah, so it's referring to the region, but Og is killed during the time of Moses. It's interesting. Solomon's kingdom goes all the way to Egypt. And I was thinking about that because it would mean that Solomon's kingdom would overlap with the area that they wandered before entering the promised land.
I find it ominous because I don't think that Solomon extended his kingdom down to the Sinai. I think it's more that Egypt is regaining strength and Egypt has regained its border up to the city of Eilat.
Okay, and now they're in some kind of a relationship truce with Egypt because of the marriage alliance, right? That was last week we covered that Solomon has married Pharaoh's daughter. Okay, Ethan, would you please read for us?
I can't see it.
Oh yeah, let me share again. There we are. Go ahead.
Judah and Israel were as many as the sand by the sea. They ate and drank and were happy. Solomon ruled over all the kingdoms from the Euphrates to the land of the Philistines and to the border of Egypt. They brought tribute and served Solomon all the days of his life.
Okay, already you have to pause because this is as big as the kingdom will ever be. The kingdom as one kingdom, this is the description of it in its golden era. It is a flash in the pan, but this is how it's being referred to. Okay, and you get this. This is a reference to Genesis, where Abraham is promised that his descendants would be as many as the sand of the sea. So you get this idea that the promise has been accomplished. They ate, drank, and were happy. That means that they're secure. They're in a good place. These are the good days, and it's the largest the kingdom will ever be. Though I do think, as Yoav was saying, there's something ominous of saying that the kingdom went all the way from Egypt to Babylon, which is what you get. The Euphrates is related to Babylon, right? So Egypt and Babylon are what you're in the middle of, which is not great.
I found it a bit anachronistic because I don't think that Babylon extended to Syria at the time. I think it's a coalition of Aramites forming and Solomon joining a coalition of Aramites. I don't think we ever bordered actually with Babylon.
Yeah, that's interesting because a lot of people have even asked the question, to what extent, like we immediately put the image of a king as we understand a king, and to what extent is there a full kingdom, or to what extent is he a chieftain? Like how large are the cities at this time when we're trying to imagine this like quote unquote empire or something like that, and it's we're bringing a lot of ourselves.
Anyway, it's quite obvious. We just read the list of cities. I mean, we had the country divided into regions, and we had the list of cities as markers. And I don't remember any Syrian cities or Aramite cities mentioned in the list. So it's quite clearly that Syria was not one of the regions. A bit over the border of, it's the bit extending into the Golan Heights, a bit extending into current Jordan, but that's since the day of Moses. Never getting to the Mesopotamia region. I don't read it in the text at all.
Okay, thank you for that. Don is saying the ate and drank and were happy scene in every movie lasts for about 5 minutes. It's watching Breaking Bad. My wife and I have started watching that show. And there was a scene that was just like a family eating dinner. And I just said, I wonder what horrible thing is going to interrupt this, right? Like you're just so accustomed to that being a part of what happened.
To answer your own God, we'll get to it in a while. Israel itself didn't have, as far as I read it, Israel itself did not have a navy, but the Phoenicians were going very strong. This is the highlight of the expansion of the Phoenicians before Carthago. They reached to the west, all the way to the Atlantic shore of Spain and even to Britain, the Phoenicians. What Solomon provided them was a port in the Red Sea. And from the port of Eilat, the Phoenicians, I believe, not the Israelis, sailed all the way to Ceylon, if not further.
Thank you. Okay, let's continue on. I can't remember who I asked last. Ethan, you want to read?
Solomon's provision for one day was 30 cores of fine flour and 60 cores of meal, 10 fat oxen, and 20 pasture-fed cattle, 100 sheep, besides deer, gazelles, roebucks, and fattened fowl. For he had dominion over all the region west of the Euphrates, from Tifsah to Gaza, over all the kings west of the Euphrates. And he had peace on all sides around him. And Judah and Israel lived in safety, from Dan even to Beersheba, every man under his vine and under his fig tree, all the days of Solomon. Solomon also had 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots and 12,000 horsemen. And those officers supplied provisions for King Solomon and for all who came to King Solomon's table, each one in his month. They let nothing be lacking. Barley also and straw for the horses and swift steeds they brought to the place where it was required, each according to his duty.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Again,
Go ahead.
it is my interpretation that what we are hearing about is a commercial empire. It's not a military rule. It's more of the extent of the location from which supplies are arriving. For example, later when we hear about the trade with the South, and the ships are bringing monkeys and peacocks, it's not that Solomon got military dominion over the Isle of Ceylon. It is all commerce through Aramites and Phoenicians.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Well, and right now it seems like this section is emphasizing just the prosperity that they were under, that how much stuff was coming in for him. And even this expression, every man under his vine and under his fig tree, that reappears in other sections. And it refers to being self-sustaining, right? You have your own resources. There's extra. You can feed yourself. You can take care of yourself. You have a good time. That expression also gets used in the U.S. as a term for being self-sustaining. I don't know. Have you guys heard that expression before?
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. Like, I think George Washington, made a meal of it in his farewell address. Just this vision of kind of decentralized, we're self-sufficient, self-sustaining, take care of ourselves, everyone's at peace. That was sort of the goal of the revolution.
Yeah, and it's from Micah 4. But they shall sit every man under his vine and under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid. For the mouth of Adonai of hosts have spoken it. There's a whole bunch of places where it's used.
Is it in Deuteronomy?
I'm trying to find.
Maybe. Yeah.
I was thinking also with comparing that with the phrase that you hear also a lot, like every man's house is his castle or something like that.
Right.
Slightly different emphasis when you put it like that, maybe, but
I think that's the British version.
Yeah. No, that's Huey Long. There's a famous politician in New Orleans who has an expression about it, about every man being a king.
I just remember that being a line in one of the songs the dad sings in Mary Poppins about his orderly household or something like that.
yeah, I was thinking it's different emphasis because with the castle, it's kind of more about ruling power and maybe that kind of independence versus being independent because you grow your own food or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see how that would become, especially an American idea. This from Zechariah. In that day declares the Lord of hosts, every one of you will invite his neighbor to come under his vine and under his fig tree. So it's again, yeah. I agree, Yanni. Self-sustaining is relative. Okay, so I think that's good. Let's, Cassandra, could you read for us? Oh, or sorry, does anyone have anything else they want to add before we continue on?
I don't know if did we read 26? I just remember when I was going through that thinking, oh, it's funny, we have a lot of horses in this one, because I think it makes mention of him having 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots and 12,000 horsemen.
It's a reminder, this isn't for parade purposes. This is like saying how many tanks he had. Right.
Well, that's what I was thinking, because like bringing up it's a commercial empire and all of this imagery that brings up just fullness, fruitfulness, that kind of thing. And then when I was reading the horses, it just brought me back to the beginning when we talked about what kings will take from people. And it's kind of an interesting tension, I think, between this golden state of having things and being peaceful and drinking and merrymaking, and then the tension of having these kind of things that also represent war and the loss and the things that you kind of have to maybe give or give up for the country.
Everything's going well, but there's someone loading a shotgun in the background, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what's going to happen.
And then, I mean, it sounds like they're using, because I think, what did it say for the king for like how many cores of wheat a day for his household?
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because the household, you have to remember, if you think about all those concubines he has and what the household is also like, if you think of like Buckingham Palace, I'm sure there's a bunch of servants that live there, right? To have little apartments or whatever within there. Okay, Cassandra, continue on for us, but that's a very good thing to notice.
Okay. And God gave Solomon wisdom and understanding beyond measure, and breadth of mind like the sand on the seashore, so that Solomon's wisdom surpassed the wisdom of all the people of the East, and all the wisdom of Egypt. For he was wiser than all other men, wiser than Ethan the Ezrahite, and Heman, Calcol, and Darda, the sons of Mahol, and his fame was in all the surrounding nations. He also spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005. He spoke of trees, from the cedar that is in Lebanon to the hyssop that grows out of the wall. He spoke also of beasts and of birds and of reptiles and of fish. And people of all nations came to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and from all the kings of the earth who heard of his wisdom.
Yes, Ethan, chariots are connected with Egypt a bunch. Go ahead, Yoav.
I find it is talking to the animals a bit hard to swallow.
So Yoav is making mention of something I wondered if we were going to get into. In English, it says he spoke of beasts and of birds and of reptiles and of fish. But in Hebrew, there's a way of translating this where he spoke with them. Is that correct, Yoav?
I don't have the Hebrew text in front of me because I'm using my phone. I don't have tabs. So I'm sorry. I mean, I will not be able to comment on the Hebrew.
Do you guys not have the phrase "talk turkey"? It's just he's so wise. He not only spoke turkey, he spoke snake, and emu, and dromedary, and all of them.
Meaning that he has developed AI.
Something like that.
Well, on the earth, he's going to do it.
If you get into non-biblical work, and if you get into like medieval literature, and not even, there's a ton of literature on Solomon, and he's basically like a magician in a lot of these things, where he understands everything, and he gets related to pre-Christian. We find a lot of amulets related to his ability to control demons. And Kezi was mentioning this somewhere, but I did my own research on it as well, that in the non-biblical text, Solomon makes parts of the temple by taming a worm with the help of a demon. That's like a major part of the legends revolved around Solomon, where there's like, because there's stones, which it says uncut stones. Well, how do you get uncut stones to be in the right shape, right? And the rabbinic answer was he uses a demon that can tame a worm to cut the stones for him. So there's a bunch of...
Okay. I have something a bit off topic. So what we see here, the age of globalization and prosperity, where in which AI is developed, which will be followed by disaster and collapse. That is interesting. My unrelated comment, I have visited the land of France, and when they have the apocalypse tapestry, which is a kind of huge rug depicting the apocalypse, the book of Revelation. And one of the stars of that movie is Hydra. It is a multi-headed dragon. It's like a dragon with, let's say, 7 heads. And I thought, okay, that is something Middle Ages. It's not relevant to nowadays. And then it dawned on me, you know those large language models that are doing all the harm nowadays. The AI is now LLMs. And that is built around a component that is called attention. That's the name of it. It has nothing to do with attention, but it's called attention. And attention is a multi-headed thing. It's like a device that is multi-headed and is going over a paragraph, and every head is reading another section of the paragraph. So the appearance of a monster that has multiple heads is in the book of Revelation towards the end of days, which makes me pause and think.
Just so you know, Yoav, traditionally, Leviathan has 7 heads as well. If you go very far back, it's even mentioned in one of the Psalms where it speaks of God crushing the heads of Leviathan, not head of Leviathan, the heads. I think it's Lotan in the Ugaritic, where it's a 7-headed sea serpent, and that gets within Christianity gets identified as it gets identified with the snake in the garden. It gets identified with that principle. So that's very interesting. Also, I like what you were saying before, because Solomon is this beacon of wisdom. He is the incredible, the kingdom at its height. And we're also, everything is about to collapse like in Babel. So it's both those things, right? You have the related to the large language models and everything, and AI, and everyone saying it's going to be our downfall. It's the same sort of thing. You've collected all the wisdom in the world, but can you even begin to pass that down? So his kid's an idiot. And I like how it's showing the extent of his understanding. The cedars of Lebanon are known as like the greatest trees. They even make mention, they're even mentioned in the Epic of Gilgamesh, right? Humbaba is the guard of the cedar forest. But it's all the way from the cedars of Lebanon to the weeds that grow out of your wall. All of that is covered, like, are things that that Solomon had ideas and theories about, and he cared about all the animals and all that stuff. Yeah, that's the thing. Again, Ethan, if you get into this stuff, Solomon, especially in random strains of Judaism, was used. Seals of Solomon were used for magical purposes because it was believed that Solomon had the ability to talk with basically all of nature. It's like sometimes he's seen as like what Adam would have been if he wasn't corrupted. Anyone have any thoughts on this bananas little bit?
Well, I was going to say, Eve's the one that talks to animals, right? So I don't know if that would have been Adam's thing.
I thought Solomon took biology classes. How disappointing.
Yeah, there's something about people, too, that they're like brilliant or exceptional in some way, and then their kids feel like a disappointment by comparison because they never reach those same heights. I think you see that with a lot of people who like they're like really famous for being like brilliant actors or something, or like they're academics.
Mm-hmm. But what do they do?
Yeah, well, something it's like either there's so much expectation for the kids to follow in the same footsteps, or you kind of suck up maybe all the oxygen in the room, and your child never really has a place to grow and thrive. But yeah, that's a common pattern.
Okay, so Cal knows about the king of the demons that I was talking about, who commands the worm. Okay, and then Cedars of Lebanon equal Ents, Solomon equals Elf. Great.
I just find it really interesting.
I object. We already established that the ants are the trees on the forest of Ephraim.
That's right. Okay, Matt, what were you going to say?
I was just thinking, like, even like a lot of what Solomon is doing is like bringing order to the kingdom, causing everything to run kind of cleanly and smoothly. But he's also this guy with tremendous curiosity, and even I guess like the most rationalistic, materialist interpretation is he's this guy who is studying the animals and doing a lot to like bring the animals to him. I just think it's interesting. At the heart of this like carefully orchestrated kingdom, there's got to be a pretty chaotic house, just because it's full buzzing with all kinds of life. Because he's like, well, I got to figure out what the grasshoppers are up to today, and so he's got his grasshopper pen in the palace compound or something like that.
I like it. I'm wondering, so Jason wanted to, and I didn't fully appreciate it at the time, wanted me to pull out all of the similarities between our last chapter and the beginning of Genesis. And I've seen a couple of similarities that I didn't notice before. So they're one of the water sources is only mentioned in our last chapter of Kings and in Genesis 3, Genesis 2. So there are, without a doubt, callbacks to the beginning of the story, and now we have him talking with animals as a possible interpretation. So it seems to me like Solomon is like the recreation of human beings at their best. He's even called a son of God in certain sections, that, you know, God's going to treat him as his kid. Yanni now wondering if Trump has a menagerie, which is very good. And I don't know, because it might just be he's one of these genius guys, and these genius guys are interested in everything. So yeah, he's got theories about fish and reptiles and birds and beasts. It also might mean that you know, he's living this almost like he's a magical character, and a magical character. I'm just gonna say it. I have witnessed people communicate with animals, and it's bizarre, where it seems like they actually had a conversation. One of my old friends walked up to a squirrel, invited it to live with them, and it climbed up her and sat on her shoulder, and she took it home And she has pictures of it was a pet of hers for like 2 months before she just let him go. And she just like, I can't do that. I've never approached an animal. When I was a kid, I tried to do that and it didn't work. And I have a friend where this has happened more than once. I don't know what to tell you.
He's not Trump. He's the crocodile hunter.
Right. Or like horse whispering or whatever it's called, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where someone has a way. Did you guys ever see the movie The Zookeeper's Wife?
No.
So this woman is a zookeeper. I can't remember if it was actually in Germany. I think it may have been in Poland. She's a zookeeper during Nazi occupation. Okay, her husband is, and she rescues a ton of Jews and hides them in what were the cages for the animals and all this other stuff. And they made a movie out of it, Jessica Chastain. It's based on a true story. I remember liking it. My wife loves Jessica Chastain, so whatever. It was good. But then we did a little bit of research on her and found out that from her perspective, she could talk with the animals. And more than one person said that she could. Like, it was well known that she could just communicate with animals, and that a couple of situations that she got out of difficulty with Nazis, they went, oh yeah, she can just like communicate with a glance and get people to kind of do what she wants. And maybe it was like this. I don't know what to say.
Well, I was thinking you could be someone who communes with animals and talks to them, and they'll do things for you in a cooperative way, or you could just be someone like how a lot of zoos are. All the animals are there forced, right? So there's two. So in that way, it could be a zookeeper in two ways. One where like you kind of understand the animal, and the other where you kind of just are more forceful. But one thing to talk about this, I was just thinking, Solomon could do all this stuff and he has all this knowledge, but it also seems very centralized in him, which sets up the problem in the next chapters, because he's like the only one that can do this. And so I was wondering if you think in that there's almost a Tower of Babel aspect, in the sense that you just have like this one spire that rises above everything else, but then when it's gone, that's the collapse.
Well,
the opposite of everybody with their own vine and fig tree.
Yeah, well, everyone's taken care of, but then it seems like because of Solomon's ability,
well, everyone has the tools to take care of themselves. They're not looking for handouts from Solomon constantly.
Well, okay, so part of it as well, you have to understand that the mountain, Eden is referred to as the mountain of God in Ezekiel. Okay, it gets identified with that. So I think of it as like Babel is like an artificial Eden. It's an artificial version of paradise, right? And part of the Genesis mandate is that they would have dominion over the animals, dominion over nature. And so Solomon, in becoming, for lack of a better term, the Son of God, has dominion over his area. There's wealth, there's wisdom, and there's even dominion over the animals. That is a part of it. And so there will be a corruption which occurs, but it hasn't happened yet. But I think we're supposed to get ideas that everything's about to fall apart. But right now, it's like human beings at their best. I want to read a couple of things that Yanni has said because they're funny. One time I was sitting with a group of cats, and cats were jumping up on my lap and sitting on my laps, and I was petting them. I called myself, never mind. I didn't know what he said there. I just saw that it looked like he had an entertaining story about cats. I didn't read ahead, Cassandra. Yanni, if Trump doesn't get a president, what is America? What is happening? Maybe I shouldn't be. You know what? I'm never mind. I'm not reading the comments anymore. What happens when Eden becomes an empire? Is that the kingdom of God? Usually what that means is everything falls apart.
I would like to answer Jan Godi was asking what was the lingua franca. Now depends which period the tower existed. At the beginning, it was Sumerian, and then it was Akkadian, and Akkadian kept as the lingua franca for a long, long, long time.
Awesome. Now, that was the wrong answer because a lot of people will say Hebrew. Hebrew is the natural language that all humans spoke before everyone else broke off of your perfect language.
Okay, since you mentioned it, Sumerian is isolate. It has no sister languages. But Akkadian is very close to Hebrew. You can always almost understand Akkadian from Hebrew and Hebrew from Akkadian. Both of them are West Semitic. Just that Akkadian is a wave of immigration earlier than that of the Hebrews.
Thank you. What did I want to say as well? There was something that I noticed in this as well. That the idea that people of all the nations came to hear the wisdom of Solomon, this is in fulfillment of Deuteronomy, not just regarding the king, but we're saying that if the people are obedient and they follow Torah, this is like all throughout Deuteronomy, that everyone from around will flock there. They will make pilgrimage to learn about who this God is, how this wisdom is given. At the same time, Cassandra, I thought about this since we last spoke. We talked about Grim Grizz and like savings throws, and I said I thought you were supposed to pick wisdom because Solomon picks wisdom, and that wasn't that great. But apparently, wisdom doesn't stop you from all the bad stuff happening, right? That's completely separate, and so maybe I don't know what is better than wisdom. Is it obedience is better than wisdom? What is?
Like I said, I choose heart every time. I think you got to go in that direction.
Right. Is that your way of saying like obedience to God or doing the loving thing or yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know because like when I was younger, I would like to memorize facts and things like that to tell people. I thought that was like a way to ingratiate myself into people for just to know things. And so I put a lot of stock into that, and I was quiet and I read, so people would be like, "Wow, you're so smart, Cassandra." And I put a lot of stock into that, but I realized, it kind of doesn't really get you the things that you think it's going to get you, and it doesn't really help you in interpersonal relationships. And I think you find with a lot of people, personal lives, friendships, things like that suffered because of maybe their overemphasis on, maybe like school stuff, career, that kind of thing, that all goes towards that. And so it's kind of like the thing, like the simpleton and the wise men are kind of not that different. Just like that bell curve or something like that. And so like being content with what you have, counting your blessings, these are the things that always comes back to, it's irritating. It's irritating to think that's like, yeah, you need to like love other people. You need to do all the stuff that you've been told that you should do, drink water, all of these cliches that everyone's always like, this is how you get your life together. They are true. It's not simple to implement or to get yourself into that place, but they work.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Okay, I would like to take a second for us to talk about this other stuff. So, Ethan the Ezrahite, that's a psalm. We got some psalms that are essentially written by these people. He also spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005. So this gets into the idea that Solomon has written literature, and then those collections are within the biblical text. Also, for those who are Septuagint readers, there's other works which are accredited to him. What is interesting is that some of the proverbs that are credited to Solomon, it actually says in Proverbs aren't Solomon's proverbs. It actually says, now here's a bunch of proverbs from another guy, right? And we don't know who they are historically, but we can see in Proverbs that whoever wrote Proverbs didn't even claim that they were all Solomon's, because there's a collecting. And we have found similar proverbs within other cultures. And his songs, like, it's very, I don't know how to understand this at this point. At certain points, I would have said that means literally these books, and this refers to Song of Songs or Song of Solomon. But it seems that there's a bunch in Song of Songs that is not from Solomon's perspective at all.
I'm going to read on it, or at least a thought on it. It's kind of the same way that like the book of Psalms is like the book, like David's book, and the book of Proverbs is Solomon's book. They don't necessarily have to be the author of every last like word in them.
Yeah,
I kind of see them as both like the subjects of the king are going to want to honor the king in a way that the king particularly appreciates. David's the musician, Solomon is the intellectual, and this is sort of like the figurehead that causes like a good way to ingratiate yourself to the king is to give the king like a cool riddle he's never heard before. And so David is a king that inspires other artists to create, and he also creates a space for them to share their music. So on one hand, he is his own great musician, but he's also a great collector. He's a great organizer of music. And in Solomon's case, he's the systematizer. He's the let's bring all of the knowledge into one place. So they become like a magnet for the literature that they most enjoy.
Right. And then also you get the notion of the school of, right? The school of the prophet, or like the house of, where you get the people that take what he did and they edit it, they make it into its final form, right? So one of the examples that I would use is an omer is the 10th part of an ephah, is a line in Exodus. And what that means is that someone came in and they included, this doesn't undermine that Moses wrote the Torah, but that at some point they used a measuring system in the days of Moses that we don't use anymore. And so that you understand how much flour was being used, there's a reference that says an ephah is the 10th part of an omer is the 10th part of an ephah, right? It's not against what this person did, but it's building on what they did to communicate fully what the ideas were for all times.
An editorial footnote. It's just the only place to put it is inside the text.
Right. We saw this in Samuel. Back in those days, they used to call a prophet a seer, right? That's obviously a later date addition. The wisdom is the best perpetual motion machine. Yeah, it's a good point. And even when we talk about the books of Moses, look, Moses received the traditions of the elders in order to write Genesis. There's no other way around it. Okay. I want it to be the case that he didn't just write Proverbs and like biologically talk about the muscular structure of these animals. I now want it to be the case that he was Dr. Doolittling. I want Solomon is Adam remade, which means like in some theological treatises, they say that Jesus's miracles related to like any of Jesus's miracles is just because he's the new man, and that all humans would have had this ability if we never fell. That's like a theory about some of that stuff. And I want that to be the case for Solomon. If you do well enough and you're perfectly in harmony with nature again.
I was thinking this end of it felt kind of not, I don't know, sing-songy or storybook in a way. Just the way it reads. Maybe it's the way he spoke of beasts and birds and reptiles and a fish. There's a certain rhythm that I think I remember from reading like stories from when I was a kid. And then yeah, talking to animals does just kind of sound whimsical.
Matt, did you grow, or Matt and Cassandra, did you guys grow up with him being able to talk to the animals, or is it just understanding?
I'd never heard of him talking to animals until I was an adult.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I remember it always being presented to me as he's just really smart. He's just like so smart. It didn't really talk. I don't really remember about other stuff, like other things that he did.
So if you Google Solomon talk to, it either says animals or ants, because there's a specific writing about his ability to talk with ants.
I mean, the ants are a focus of his attention in Proverbs more than once.
Yeah. In Jewish, Christian, and Islamic tradition, King Solomon is attributed with the ability to understand and communicate with animals. The gift is often described as a divine empowerment, allowing him to learn the languages of various creatures, including birds, insects like ants, and even mythical beings like jinn. That happens, obviously, in the Quran.
Being an entomologist is interesting. But I was thinking also that's like very accessible in a sense that ants are everywhere. So you could like do a lot of time just watching what an ant does.
Is this going to Eden, or like pre-Babel, that he knows like the universal language? He speaks in tongues with the ants.
Right.
I like this, Don. The only thing I would think to say to ants is get out of my house. The ants are a mighty people, don't you know?
They are. They keep coming
They
back.
would be a good creature to consult if you're conducting a building project.
That's a great point.
They are. My grandma was telling me about how she had like ants really bad, and no matter what she did, they wouldn't go away. She was like killing them, and she felt bad about it. And then one day she was just like, it feels mean to kill them. So there's a big ant trail in her house, and all she did is she swept them up and she dumped them outside. And she said they never came back. It's been years, and she still hasn't had ants in her house.
There is a book that I would recommend to young God, except that I'm sure that he already read some of it, called Gadel Esher Bach. And in the book Gadel Esher Bach, there is a description of a conversation with the ant hill. The idea is that you cannot speak with the individual ant because it's just a part of the intelligent creature. You speak to the ant hill. And there are two ant hills mentioned in the book. There is one whose name is Ant Hillary, and the other one is called Hilbert. And Hilbert was a famous ant hill mathematician. So says the book. You don't understand what I'm talking about. It's about the book. Read the book and you might understand. Cutting to another issue, the story that the rabbis say about King Solomon taming a worm to cut stones, either of two options. Either is a nonsense and old wives' tales and should not be taken seriously, or else we know that there was an ancient art of cutting stones and fitting them together. We see them in Mesoamerica, we see it in Egypt, we see it in the ancient foundations of the Jewish temple. And the question is always, how did they do it? For example, they could make a jar out of a rock. They will take a piece of very hard rock and just drill into a hole into it to make it into a jar. Very, very nice polished thin walls. And nobody gives a good explanation of how they did it. The suggestion that it was done with a special kind of worms is not nonsense, because there are a lot of different worms in the world. We don't know the names and the characteristics of all the worms. Just dig into the ground in Europe or in North America and see how many worms are there in the ground. Worms is a catch-all name that covers a lot of different families of animals. There could have been a stone-eating worm at the time. Like there is a mention in the Bible of painting cloth with a special paint that was made out of a snail. And recently we have found this snail, and there is this snail still exists in the Mediterranean that properly used can dye clothes in either purple or blue.
Mm-hmm. Unless I'm mistaken, friend of the show, Yosef, has tzitzit that are actually blue. And it's because they've actually been dyed with this color. And so he believes that he can, like if you see a modern day Orthodox Jew, they're usually white, they're tzitzit, even though the tzitzit specifically says to have a blue cord in it. And the idea is they don't use it because they can't find it anymore. Well, Yosef believes that they have found it, and so has tzitzit that are actually this bright blue. Okay, I don't know if we have anything else that wants to be added. It's definitely an Islamic belief that Solomon could speak with ants specifically. There's a lot of extra biblical material that gets put directly into the Quran. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the section that gets moved in. Whereas it kind of goes in and out of Christianity. It's maintained as a legend, but doesn't make it into scripture itself. But Solomon does get used in anti-demonic stuff. It gets used in healing amulets. It gets used if you're having problems with ants, Cassandra. If your aunt has problem with ants, again. You could use apparently symbols of Solomon to get it to go away. But to me, it's a retelling of the fall. So right now we're in paradise and things are good. And we're on the holy mountain, the mountain of God, where this one waterway, which is only mentioned in early Genesis, has now come back. where a man has dominion over the earth and over the animals, but this just makes the fall all the worse.
But it's also a story that we can return. Like we can get closer. Like we're not just doomed to like pure entropy of getting further and further and further away. We were brought back to Eden for a minute here.
That's right. That's right. And that is in the literature attributed to Solomon, is that if you learn these things, that they will make you able to discern good and evil. That's what Solomon says. I can't discern good and evil, which again sounds like Eden, but he's doing it from the perspective of obedience. And then it's like he regains access to the tree of life, right? The tree of life throughout is used as this positive thing if you get it the right way. The tree of knowledge and the tree of life are good if you get it the right way.
It's also a cyclical story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But we can get it back. I feel like I got it back from my parents' generation, and it's very strange because now I'm doing Bible study with my dad, and this thing that he lost, I'm like giving back to him. But like part of where my biblical knowledge comes from is that I grew up going to a church that my dad doesn't believe in, but I remembered the stories. So it's like, I don't know. It's this weird thing, like what you're saying, is somehow, even though things are getting worse, we can occasionally get back to the good old days.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's easier when maybe you're reading stories to foreshadow the bad times, the inevitable destruction and collapse of everything. But also sometimes too, in those stories of destruction and loss, there's also like always the seed of something new that's growing again. Because that just takes me back to talks about like, you know, like Pinocchio saving your father, and, you know, God putting Jesus on the earth to save Adam who came before him, and like the way that the father and the son save each other, the seed that dies in order to grow.
Beautifully said. Good things are good if you get them the good way and use them for good. That's good. That's good. Yeah. Anything else, my friends? Well, we're going to break there. I didn't want to get into the next one because it's bigger. We are taking next week off. I'm so sorry. So very sorry. Will Jacob do it himself? I don't know. If he does, will I still start exactly where we left off? Yes. So maybe you have a free week. Please don't become sinful. Don't utterly lose yourselves next week. Only try to speak to the ants in a proper way.
And maybe in 2 weeks' time, I'll be back home.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So does anyone have anything else they want to add, or are we done?
I think we're good.
Excellent. Okay, thank you guys. Cassandra, thank you for reminding me of that it is, and Matt too. Maybe we can get back. Maybe we can try to follow God, follow his commandments, to be not just wise in our own eyes, but actually living in love and able to bring back like a little bit of Eden. And maybe when that happens, you'll be able to talk to your house pets.
This is the best motivation to be religious ever. Like if I love God hard enough, I can talk.
What is your attention? Yeah. Every now and then you get stories like it. Seriously, look up the zookeeper's wife and see if you can find out about all the cool, how she can talk to animals.
I'm gonna send you one of my favorite pieces of like theological reflection is literally a guy thinking about the crocodile hunter, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. Goodbye. 2 weeks.
Peace.